How do you do that? Well, that's cool. Wow.
Yeah,
Nice, like that.
What are we listening to? Oh, yeah.
It's Frank.
Feeling it. That was scary.
Yeah, that's the
Where is
That
this?
was so gnarly. Holy fuck.
Whoa. So cool. So you bring your cameras on all your courses? Okay.
Maybe it's right, just like body two lenses or
You're splitboarding.
First time slipboarding. So pretty fast.
That's cool.
oh, that's up to well, yeah.
That is neat. That's cool.
That's a little wider than 28 on those panoramas. You guys are just going over, what are you using?
Aww.
Lead.
That's what I was just saying last week before that.
Wow, that's so cool.
That big jump up.
No, this is behind like Fisher Peak and it's in between Kimberly and Freddie.
Looks a lot like Virgin Metal, where it looks exactly like that.
Boy.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah, something like a profile.
that's around that.
Your sister.
No, it's just a kid at camp.
Right on.
That was Asian Bob, you said? Oh, no, not at all. I was gonna say that's a hell of a stage name, man. Who are we listening to?
H-Mob.
H-Mob. H-Mob.
Oh, wow. Good quote.
Yeah, excellent.
Asian Bob.
Big inspiration for sure.
That's what I heard. Oh. You need to put Ari Guns there, right?
No, that was okay.
Gangster rap.
Yeah, great. Thanks again for coming, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll start things off with a quote. Don't take a photograph, you make it. So you guys are all adventure students. Oh no, yeah, that's what you're saying.
So we're all in an adventure program, and photography applies a lot to adventure. Like obviously, we all love documenting the places that we've been to, and we all go to really interesting places. So yeah, it's great to take photos of them, and you can also find employment doing that. Like lots of heli ski and cat ski companies have full-time photographers that ski with guests and just take photos for promotional purposes. And same with raft companies do the same thing kind of. And there's also freelance action photography, sports photography work you can do too. So it kind of ties into our field in that respect.
Okay, so we're just going to go through a couple of basics about photography and how a camera works and how you can make up an image. First thing, we're just going to start off with DSLR versus point and shoot. So you probably know what a point and shoot is. It's like any average camera that you used to use, just that kind of compact rectangle. And this is a DSLR. It stands for digital single lens reflex. And then obviously film cameras are just SLR for the digital. And the main difference between the two is you can remove the lenses and put on a different one if you want, or whatever. And it's just got all you have a lot more options to create your photographs with, and all your buttons are just kind of on the side here. It's really easy to customize that. The one thing with DSLRs is they're obviously big, and it really kind of sucks to drag around with you, and they're also pretty expensive. But you can create a much more higher quality image, and you have a lot more customizability, I guess. But as someone said, the best camera is the one that is with you the most, and you can certainly make a good image with any camera that you shoot with. Okay, on to aperture. So aperture is one of the two systems within the camera that controls the amount of light that enters. And when the light enters the camera, that's how you create an image. So what aperture is the hole in the lens. You guys can see that there, the little hole. And it's controllable. You can go from small to bigger holes. So obviously a bigger hole is to let more light in, and a smaller hole let less light in. So that's kind of measured in numbers. It's called f-stop. So it goes from, this is about 1.4 all the way down to like 16 or up to 22. So the smaller the number, the bigger the hole, and the bigger the number, the smaller the hole. Kind of hard to remember. But yeah, so we'll just go into, so wide aperture, looks like this. It's going to let you, because it lets more light in, it's going to let you shoot in darker conditions, which is definitely very useful. It also controls the depth of field. Now, what depth of field is the amount of the image that's in focus. And so, yeah, like a wide aperture is going to have a very shallow depth of field. So I've got a photo coming up. This is shot with the aperture wide open, and as you can see, the only things that are in focus are this kid's eyes. But as soon as you get to the ears, just a couple of centimeters back, it's totally blurred. And then on the other side, small aperture, so that's when it's shot like that. What it does is it kind of concentrates the light as it comes into the camera, and it just kind of it focuses the image a little bit more. So you can see the whole range of the photo is focused. And that works hand in hand with shutter speed.
Shutter speed or exposure. So yeah, your shutter speed is how long the shutter is open on your camera. So the longer it's open, the more light will be let into your camera, and the shorter it's open, less light will be let in. So yeah, so it works hand in exactly. So it's, with the aperture, it's controlling the amount of light, and shutter speed is controlling how long the light is exposed to the mirror of your camera, which produces your image. So yeah, so you can play around with it a lot. Like I'm sure you've all seen long exposure shots, like star trails. When you see a photo of all like the star trails, or like cars headlights that just like you can't see the car really, but you can see the light travel, stuff like that. So that's what exposure is usually.
Yeah, you can just imagine it as it's a shutter curtain, so it's kind of blocking the sensor, and then when it opens up on a specific amount of time just to let the light in. So
Yeah, you
kind
can
of see,
yeah, exactly.
you can see it in there, right? That's the shutter going. You let the light in.
So longer one would go, and then
And it goes like really fast with us too.
yeah. So yeah, it's like an example of fast exposure. It's totally free of frozen. It's a totally frozen image essentially. So you're just trying to capture that speed, and then a long exposure is something like that. So you're getting all the motion of that movement of what is going on there.
And it goes to use.
And like there, it's like you get the light and like see the trails of the smoke kind of. You do a longer exposure and picks up more, pick up the light in the background and all that stuff.
The camera's probably stabilized in that much.
Yeah, I tried a lot for that.
How long did you?
That one? I'm not exactly sure how long I did that one exactly.
5 seconds or something?
Yeah, it
probably
wasn't
in there.
It was
Probably
like
a few takes.
5 to 10 seconds. Sure.
That's a good one.
Okay. So ISO is the sensitivity of the camera's sensor to light. So it's measured in numbers from like 1,000 up to like I think it was up to like 100 or no, to 12,000 or something now. And what you're basically doing is the light's all there, but you're kind of creating artificial light almost. So say I'm indoors where the light isn't that good. It's not as bright as outside, but I'm shooting like an action kind of like basketball or something. And I need a fast shutter speed to capture this. So like so I can capture so it's not all blurred, right? But there's not that much light available, so it's just gonna be totally dark if I use that. Well, one thing I can do is bump up the ISO and kind of create this artificial light or more light, and then I can use that faster shutter speed. But the more you bump up the ISO, you kind of pay a price for it because the image quality gets poorer and poorer as you increase the ISO. So and it makes it look grainy, so it kind of makes the image look like it's made of sand almost. So you can kind of see this is really high ISO, this image that I took, and you can see it's not as sharp as something like that.
So yeah, if you're shooting in really bright conditions, there's really no need for your ISO or that. Well, yeah. So yeah, there's also white balance, which is another key feature of your cameras. So white balance is the balance of the primary colors, so red, blue, and green. And every camera, like even like smartphone cameras and stuff, all have a white balance sensor, or you can manually set it. And you usually I always manually set my white balance. And so yeah, you're just trying to balance out, like I said, the primary colors to get the camera to see the colors as true as possible to what you're seeing. So every camera has there's different settings for different lights. So there's like an incandescent light setting, a sunlight setting, a shade setting, a cloudy setting, and you're just trying to match whatever light conditions that are present to what your camera is, or set it to what your camera is reading. And if you set it correctly, it'll come out as you're seeing. If not, they call it the color temperature of the photo. Can be so this would be this would be a correct white balance. See this one is kind of like, they call it a warmer temperature. It's kind of like there's more reds and oranges that are like coming out a bit in it. So yeah, they probably set it on an incorrect white balance. Yeah.
And you can totally do that purposely as well. Like sometimes I want my photos to be warmer, or like give a warmer vibe out of them. So I'll purposely set it cooler vibe.
More blues, and colors like that. So yeah, lenses and focal length. So yeah, so like yeah, you can see we brought a whole bunch of different lenses. Like this is a 200 millimeter, 70 to 200 millimeter zoom lens. So like the lowest kind of focal length that you can get is like an 11 millimeter or 8 millimeter, which is just like a massively wide photo. Like you saw some of Luke's photos were just like really wide and like lots of space. It's taken with an 11 millimeter lens, and then you can get up to like if this is a 200 millimeter. That's a pretty common zoom for like lots of action sports photography are taken with 200 millimeter lenses, but you can get up to like hundreds and hundreds of millimeters, like space telescopes and stuff that have like 1,000 millimeter lenses and stuff like that. So
yeah. And the millimeter is just kind of like a measurement of how zoomed in it is. So 11 would be pretty wide, and then 200 is pretty zoomed in.
mm-hmm.
So the greater the number, the greater kind of
Greater zoom.
magnification of the zoom. So there's 11 millimeter. It's huge.
50 millimeters, they say, is the closest to what your eye actually sees. So like what you're seeing right now, it's like the closest lens to a human eye. That's I shot a 200 millimeter zoom. So yeah,
pretty good for wildlife photography. And you can kind of see.
Yeah, this is like so. All these photos are taken from the exact same place with different millimeter lenses. So as you can see, the 18 millimeter, it's really wide. You can get the whole picture, and then you get to the 300 millimeter, and you can zoom right in on one of the blinds. So you can see the difference between from an 18 to a 300 millimeter zoom.
Okay, just go over some photography techniques. What we talked about is composition, playing with exposure time. So that's we talked about that before. If you leave your shutter open for longer, and you can kind of play with lights and stuff. You know, like if you shoot a car with a long exposure, the car's gonna disappear because it's moving, but because the lights are so bright, it's gonna pick up that light and it'll leave this cool trail behind it. And then the other way around, just shoot like some people go like this and shake their face, and you shoot like a really fast shutter speed, and it's super funny, just like. And playing with different size apertures. Like I said, you can, a wide aperture, you can really create an effective portrait because you just get, your subject in focus, and then everything behind them is blurred, so it really focuses on your subject and creates a more powerful image. Where you might want to use a smaller aperture for landscape photography, where you want the whole range of your image in focus. And then we'll talk about utilizing light as well. So, composition, just a couple techniques, and go through them. Rule of thirds, so this is a pretty big technique. Basically, it's a grid that you kind of use when you're looking through your viewfinder at your image. And it's just, choose two vertical lines and two horizontal lines. And where these lines meet is where you want to place your image. And that's just kind of proven to make a more interesting, less static image. Like a lot of people put their image like right in the middle, but then it's kind of, it's static and boring. But if you kind of put your image, like you can even just put it somewhere along these lines, or your subject of your image, and it's going to create a more powerful image.
It's a great tool for separating like your foreground, your subject, and your background.
Yeah.
That's what it's really good for.
So, and then horizons. This is a pretty common mistake. I make this all the time. Is you can see the horizon in the background here. It's kind of tilted, and that kind of makes the photo look a little amateur. So, if you always try and make your horizon straight, it can create a better image. You can see that there. Leading lines. These are lines that kind of it leads your eye into the image. And you can position your subject at the end of these leading lines, and it'll just it kind of creates a cool effect, and you enjoy looking at the image because your eyes will be led into it. And then the background. It's always good to watch the background. A lot of people will they'll take a photo of someone and they've got a tree in the background and it looks like it's sticking out of their head. And unless you're going for that, it kind of ruins the flow. And then yeah, using that wider aperture so you can just have the subject in focus and the background is totally blurred. And then keeping it simple, because some of the best photographs are the most simple, the most powerful. And with all that being said, all those rules are totally meant to be broken. So you can, they're more guidelines, so you can totally just go out there and do whatever you want. That's not always going to be, those rules aren't always going to be the best way to take the image right there. They're just guidelines.
So I can talk about the golden hours of the day, so kind of the best times to shoot. So yeah, the best times of the day to shoot are in the twilight hours. So either in the evening, like around sunset, or in the morning, kind of when the sun's rising. Just because during the middle of the day, the sun casts pretty harsh light, like really bright, strong light. It's not always as good for photos. It's like just so many UV rays just really make harsh kind of light. So yeah, like as you all know, colors at the start and end of the day are really nice. And they just make really soft, nice light, and just great for portrait photography, landscape photography, things like that. Just
All the shadows pop.
exactly, yeah, nice long shadows, and just like it's like a sunrise in there. And yeah, the colors are just awesome. So yeah, definitely those are the best times of day to shoot.
That's it.
But yeah, that's
Apple,
You look for a little inspiration lately.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Sweet.
My dad